Hi, I'm Steph, and today we're going to be talking about evolutionary theory. Evolutionary theory is based on Darwin's theory of the evolution of species. And this basically stated that the strongest survive, and the species that aren't as strong, the lesser versions, are bred out over time. So it's all about species evolving over time. And during this process of evolution, they actually improve because the better, stronger animals reproduce and lesser versions drop off in the end. So how do we apply a theory that's predominantly based on animals and plants and breeding fittest specimens how does that relate to a culture or a society? Well, that's what we call social Darwinism. Social Darwinism is the theory that the strongest societies, the fittest societies, will eventually take over the least fit, the least strong, and we'll have this homogenization of culture where the strongest culture survives and the others don't. So there's a lot of inherent judgments here. So it's saying that one culture is better or more advanced or more evolved than another. So if you see this as primitive man living in caves and stuff, across time you see this as an advanced society, that's a social Darwin theory, that evolution from what they see as primitive to what they see as advanced. What I'm saying here is that to see this as primitive and to see this as advanced is an inherent values judgment. What makes this better than that? Why is this better? And there's arguments to be made that actually it's not better. So what you've got to think about are the implications on the micro, meso, macro levels of a dominant culture taking over all of the other less dominant cultures. And another thing that it's worth thinking about is that this type of social Darwinism applies evolutionary theory to all societies and cultures. So that has huge implications for things like cultural diversity. And it also has huge implications for the way we think about other people from different cultures. So if we view our European white culture as being superior to other cultures, then we will believe that through the process of social Darwinism, our culture will eventually reign supreme and all those other cultures that are lesser than ours will just get bred out. So an example of a neo-evolutionary theory, and neo just means new, So when we say a neo-evolutionary theory, we just mean a new, updated evolutionary theory. An example of that is Rostow's model of economic development. So Rostow talks about economies moving from subsistence or primitive farming through what he calls stages of development, until they reach this high mass consumption utopia at the other end. And Rostow's argument is that given the right conditions in these stages, all societies will develop along this same course, along this same timeline, and end up at the same place of high mass consumption utopia. So you can see that there's lots of values judgments involved in that. Just think about the word choice. Words like evolution, development and advanced, all saying that it's better to be here than it is to be here. So for a lot of traditional societies, they're quite happy here and don't see this as better or desirable. But there's no allowance made for that under this theory. So you need to think about whether or not everybody wants to evolve, and the end point of evolution is this high mass consumption state of being. Does everybody want that? Does everybody want their society to be this high mass consumption society? And that's also a values judgment. But that's Rostow's model of economic development. It is a neo-evolutionary theory, so it does come with all those values judgments built in. So I hope you've enjoyed applying evolutionary theory to societies, and hopefully in class we'll go through and apply it to Papua New Guinea.